Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. I want you to picture a world where you buy yourself a booster box of the new Theros Beyond Death set, and when you crack it open, you end up getting over 2 booster packs worth of cards fewer in the box set. So overall, you end up with the amount that would equal to more than 2 booster packs not being inside that box. This is the sort of fear and confusion that was happening within the Magic community due to a mistake made by ICV2, which is a website that shares articles about a number of subjects, Magic the Gathering being one of them. So they posted an article where they had product shots of the Theros Beyond Death booster box. And they went on talking about the different product lines that were available, talking about collector's boosters, regular boosters, all these sort of things. But buried in there was an interesting statement saying that the new booster packs were going to have 4 uncommons in them, but only 8 commons. So we're looking at a scenario where all of a sudden you go, wait, well, hold on, how does that math work? You've got 8 common cards, and you've got 4 uncommon cards, that's 12. And then you put in your rare or mythic rare, that's 13. And then you put in the land, that's 14. Wait a minute, is Wizards of the Coast just reducing the number of cards we get in a booster pack by 1 out of nowhere without telling us? Now, this is a scenario where people came down on both sides of the fence. Some people are saying, look, there's no way this can be happening because Wizards of the Coast would have said something. They would have come around and said, we are increasing the number of uncommons in the packs. But they probably wouldn't trumpet too much about reducing the number of cards in the pack. For somebody to turn around and think, wait a minute, Wizards of the Coast reducing the number of commons in a booster pack seems like something you could see them doing as a cost-saving measure. We haven't seen an increase in like the base price of regular booster packs in a considerable amount of time. So perhaps as an attempt to try and avoid pushing the price of its product up, they do what a lot of food manufacturers do. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but you will buy food. This actually happened recently with cheese, specifically where I live, where all of a sudden you buy a block of cheese and it's the same price it was, same packaging, but all of a sudden it's 400 grams instead of 450 grams. So you've got that kind of a reduction. So people were turning around and going, well, I mean, it could just be that they're quietly reducing the amount of cards they're giving us overall, while at the same time ramping up the number of uncommons. So it's like, yes, you are getting fewer cards, but commons matter the least overall to a booster pack, right? I mean, well, not to a booster pack, I should say, but commons matter the least to Magic players. In most cases, unless you're a Pauper player, you don't care about commons for the most part unless you're playing in draft. Obviously, there are some commons that are good enough to hit the mark, you know, like Growth Spiral, Skewer the Critics. Those commons are clearly good enough for you to play with outside of like a sealed environment, but the majority of commons don't matter. So it's not unreasonable to look at that news and go, okay, they're upping the uncommons, they're decreasing the commons. So that information was all released last night. Turns out that it was a typo, and this is what makes me curious. It makes me wonder if they're just lumping multiple mistakes together as a typo because they retracted it. If you go and read the article now, and this is interesting, it says a booster pack contains 15 cards of different rarities, but it doesn't break those rarities down. So it doesn't talk about how many commons or uncommons you're going to be getting in a booster pack. It just says that they made a typo. So there's a number of scenarios we could be looking at. It could be a situation where the booster packs we're going to get with Theros upcoming are going to be regular booster packs. There's just going to be completely what we're used to with your 1 rare, your 3 uncommons, your 10 common cards, and then your basic land shoved in there or whatever. It could be that, or it could be a scenario where just one of the amounts they said was a typo. So it could mean actually that they are reducing the number of cards in the packs, and they could have 8 commons in a booster pack. It could mean that there are 4 uncommons for Theros booster packs, and it's a new gimmick that Wizards of the Coast is trying, and that's why they just said a typo, and why they're not giving us information specifically designating what the rarities are. Perhaps Theros will have some kind of variation. It might even be a scenario where Wizards of the Coast contacted them and was like, yo, why are you telling them that there's 4 uncommons in the packs? We were going to use that as a marketing tool, but we haven't reached the point where they've started the Theros Beyond Death marketing push, right? They like to wait at least a little bit after a new set comes out before they really start getting people psyched up about it. So Throne of Eldraine hasn't been out long enough for them to be fully leaning 100% into Theros Beyond Death. So it's a scenario where, are we looking at a set where there are going to be 4 uncommons per booster? Are we looking at a set where theoretically they have removed a common or more from booster packs? Or are we looking at regular boosters? And if they are changing up the mix, how would that impact draft? Because these booster packs are known as draft boosters. And increasing the uncommons, either decreasing commons or increasing uncommons, would both have a significant impact on how draft functions. By having an extra uncommon in each pack, you are increasing the amount of available uncommons in a draft environment by 33%. And that means that you'll get more copies of more powerful cards. Let's say, for example, it was Throne of Eldraine that we were talking about. That would be more opportunities to get the Witch's Oven, more opportunities to get Cauldron Familiar, these sort of uncommons that can be pretty potent, especially when combined in draft. So having a higher number of uncommons could push the power level of draft, or it could work in the other way, where they start to water down the power level of uncommons to a degree because there are more uncommons in this set. And so as a result, there are more uncommons in the booster, not necessarily in the set, because an increase in commons in uncommons, an increase in uncommons in boosters does not necessarily mean they've created more uncommons in the set. They could have the exact same amount of uncommons. It could also mean that they've upped the amount of uncommons. That would actually be a really weird thing to do. To have a set where you have, let's say instead of having 100 and something commons and 100 and something uncommons, all of a sudden you have 150 or 160 uncommons and only 50 or 60 commons. So the commons start to show up more frequently. Now, obviously, that's going to work better in a scenario where they also reduce the number of commons in booster packs. But if they do reduce the number of cards in a booster pack even by 1, when it comes to draft environments, that diminishes the number of cards you have to select from to build your deck by 3 full cards. And that's a significant difference because you're only dealing with a pool of cards that at most could be 45. But if the set includes basic lands instead of specialty lands like the Gingerbread House or whatever, then really it's even fewer cards. You have 42 to start with, and that would drop down to 39 in terms of drafts. So that would, I feel like, for me, from the information that's been given in this mistake, I mean, the most likely scenario is that booster packs are just going to be regular. We're going to get regular booster packs that we've seen before. There will be no variance from what we're used to. And when they said it was a typo, what they really mean is that entire blurb was a typo. But again, they're not replacing it with actual accurate information stating what those rarities are. So it does make me curious. To me, if there is going to be a variation, I think the most likely variation would simply be increasing the amount of uncommons by 1. Now, I don't know logistically what that would mean for the way that sets are collated, because we've seen that anytime they do something special with a set, like for example, Eldritch Moon with the double face cards, or more recent examples would be Dominaria and War of the Spark, where they each had something special about them. Dominaria was focused on legends, so every pack was guaranteed to have a legendary card in it, and there would be a slot for the legendary card. And then you have a scenario where you've got War of the Spark, where every pack is guaranteed to have a Planeswalker in it. So these sort of things are like gimmicks that change the nature of the way a pack is put together, but they don't necessitate increasing the number of uncommons in your booster pack, right? Like if you get a pack of War of the Spark, you're getting 3 uncommons, one of which may be a Planeswalker, or the Planeswalker is your rare mythic rare, but you're not getting a 4th uncommon slot that is your Planeswalker. So this would be a deviation, but it would also help to give Theros a little sort of marketing gimmick to it, where uncommons are a little less uncommon. So for me, this was a scenario where I was actually genuinely surprised when I saw the original announcement. I didn't immediately wave it away as a mistake, truthfully. When I looked at it, I went, okay, so this is how Wizards is going to do things. Instead of looking to up the base price for draft boosters, they're going to reduce the amount of cards we get. And then I realized that that would be losing over 2 booster packs worth of cards per box, which is a significant difference. But at the same time, they are just commons. Either way, I went through a whole range of thoughts about what this could mean for Magic the Gathering. Now, I've said everything that I really have to say on the subject, so let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think that we're going to see regular boosters going forwards? Do you think that we're going to see 4 uncommons per pack? Do you think we actually are going to see a reduction in the number of commons and Wizards contacted them and told them to pull that information back because they want to present that from a particular marketing perspective? What sort of scenario are we looking at in your opinion? So thanks everybody for coming by. Shout out to my patrons and channel members. Thanks for supporting my work, and I shall see you all tomorrow.